There is a whale, her name is Salt. She's very popular, 47 years old, and she is a matriarch, a grandmother. Hidizs have decided to honor her with this IEM, which is Hidizs MP143 Salt. So if you are supporting Hidizs, just remember this, you are indirectly supporting also whale and dolphin conservation. Direct successor to the highly successful Hidizs MP145. Over 10 months ago, you might remember my review on it. It was, I declared openly as one of my favorite and probably the best magnetic planar until today, until perhaps the arrival of this MP143 here. Where does that MP143 came from? You might be wondering. So remember this MP145 here, okay? And now this is MP143. Side by side, physically, I would say that comparing between these two IEM, they are pretty much similar in many ways. Obviously, this MP143 now appears to be kind of a bit slender, smaller as well. And that 143 is actually a reference to the driver inside. Yes, the driver is sized at 14.3 mm, where this MP145 is at 14.5 mm. So now you know. The impedance rating seems to be reduced as well. This MP145 rated at 30 ohm, and this one is lower at 17 ohm, so almost half lower with the impedance rating. I did mention that it is slender and smaller to MP145, right? Overall, yes, the design pretty much remains similar, but the nozzle of this MP145 is visibly longer, more elongated than this MP143. And it does impact on the wear factor and the seal of it. So I have been wearing this MP143, walking around, in broad daylight, in a very noisy environment, and I must say that the seal for this MP143 is even lesser now as compared to this MP145. However, the good thing is that the comfort factor remains the same. Despite being on the larger side, both of them are super comfortable still. Powering up this MP143 is easy. I would say that it is even slightly easier than the original MP145 because of that lower impedance rating, which is rated at just 17 ohm. So I was able to connect it directly to my phone here, which is Sony Xperia 1 Mark IV here. 3.5 mm single-ended, and the kind of output which I'm getting is something which I'd consider as definitely usable at around 70 to 75% of volume for proper listening loudness, and I would consider the output itself being musical, not so analytical, but definitely usable. And it gets better as I scale it with more power, obviously, because being a magnetic planar, just like many other magnetic planar, I get the best output coming from this iBasso DX260 here, which is my favorite depth now, from the 4.4 mm balance. And also at the very least, I would say that in order to get the very best out of this MP143, you should also run through something like this, which is Onyx Alpha, one of my favorite dongle here, or even this iBasso DC07 Pro. And at the very minimum, I would say that at least try to run it with a dongle like this Venture Electronic Odo. Just like the original MP145, this MP143 comes with 3 tuning nozzles. So you can expect 3 different sounds coming from it. And let me just start with the first tuning nozzle, which is the one already attached to this MP143 when I first got it out of the box. It was the rose gold type tuning nozzle, and it is in fact pretty much similar to the rose gold nozzle which I have already used on this MP145 here. And let me just put it this way, I was kind of a bit taken aback, kind of a bit disappointed honestly, because perhaps my expectation was like this high. This is a successor to MP145, the best magnetic planar which I have declared like over 10 months ago. And due to that high expectation, I was kind of a bit taken aback because I feel that they have tuned down the energy a bit in order to achieve smoothness, and the sound curve does appear to be kind of like Harman-ish flavor. If you know anything about me, Harman is not the kind of sound curve which I like. So what I'm trying to say here is that, I do feel that the shift of focus now goes from mid bass to sub bass. And if you are familiar with MP145, then you will know that MP145 focus a bit more on mid bass rather than the sub bass. But the good thing is that I am just nitpicking here, okay? But in general, MP143 still does sound amazing in that setup, especially if you love Harman sort of tuning with a lot of sub bass, okay? And then after spending a bit of time with the gold nozzle, I decided to switch to the silver nozzle, which tend to be a bit brighter if I were to use it on this MP145. But hey, you know what? Now suddenly this is the kind of sound which I love. The kind of sound which actually, wow me for the first time when I listened to MP145. Now both of them actually sounded pretty much very, very, very similar. So remember this, using this MP143, and if you love the original sound of MP145, you should use the silver nozzle, avoid the gold or even the red nozzle, because the red nozzle, I didn't even spend too much time on it because it offers even more coloration, even more thickness to the overall sound presentation, that it sounded nothing like MP145 at all. But perhaps it may appeal to you. But going back to the silver nozzle, the kind of sound which I'm hearing is that, one, pace, rhythm and timing. It is definitely fast. The kind of pace, rhythm and timing which is pretty much on par, almost on par to true electrostatic. If you have watched my review on this MP145 before, I even compare this MP145 almost as fast as Shure KSE 1500. So in that regard, the good thing about this MP143 is that while retaining the same characteristic of highly resolving, analytical, airy, wide open sounding with the soundstage, which means that you can expect the kind of immersion coming from all over, especially if you listen to classical or orchestral music or even technical jazz. It is also definitely very open sounding. And the good thing is that, okay, while doing all that, being highly technical, it is also musical at the same time. So you can still expect proper balance coming from this MP143. And the good thing is that also with the silver nozzle, it does appear a lot more linear neutral now. Okay, a bit more of shift, regaining that mid bass, which I love so very much, and a proper balance of sub bass. The mid range itself does appear kind of a bit frontal, just a hair frontal compared to this MP145 here, which is still something I regard as a more towards a stronger V sound curve, while this is a bit more flatter linear. And when it comes to the upper frequency, yes, both of them would just simply exhibit the kind of sparkly, energetic, yet never offensive upper frequency. There are just so many competition in the magnetic planar space for the IEM, especially this year. We are seeing so many options to choose from. But one thing for sure, at least from my perspective, Hidizs remains the forefront, the champion for magnetic planar, all the way from MP145 and now this MP143. And after spending a bit more of time, I have already explained to you how does it differ from this MP145 and this MP143. And it depends on which nozzle you use. Pretty much you can make them sound similar with gold nozzle on this first edition of this MP145 and this MP143 with silver nozzle. Okay, and also play with the tips. You can get pretty much similar sort of performance from the both of them. But how does it compare with some of the magnetic planar which I have in my collection? I will just openly admit, okay, this Sivga Nightingale here is still my personal favorite, the one which I use the most, because this is warmer sounding as compared to the two. Because when I want extended period of listening to highly energetic and crazily vibrant music, this Sivga Nightingale does it better. Both of these will still induce fatigue after the mark of 2 hours if I listen to rock and metal music. but they are definitely superb when it comes to that particular genre. And not just that genre, it is pretty much any genre that I can think of. And when I compare with some of the competition in the market, like, you know, even RT-T10 or even Nichek F1 Pro, or even the older one like, you know, Tangzu Heyday, this MP143 is definitely superior, okay, in many ways. Not by much, but enough for me to declare that this thing would score, as you can see here, pretty much side by side with MP145, 71 out of 100. And if you look closely, I even place the rating for many aspects of the sound and the technicalities on par to MP145, because I do feel that they both retain the same level of quality depending on which nozzle or which ear tip you use. And the only difference perhaps here, the isolation and seal factor for this MP143 is in fact almost non-existent due to the nozzle design, and also it is smaller and it is also made of metal, and it does score lower there, but at least it improved on the comfort over the original MP145. So have a look at this in the link in the description below. So to sum it up, with the competition getting tougher and tougher, as I noted earlier, it is definitely, without a doubt, at least, again, from my perspective, MP143 retains the crown for magnetic planar for 2024. I would like to implore my audiences to pay some attention to the issues that we are having in this world right now. We still have whales being hunted in Faroe Island and some part of the world, and we have some dolphin, you know, struggling to survive, humpback whales and even orcas all over the place, having difficulty here and there. A bit of attention, a bit of support, a bit of concern from us will do a lot of things in the long run. You can start by supporting WDC via Hidizs with this MP143.